Welcome to the Outside View. The ODI leg of India Tour of Australia 2021 has come to a close. Australia winning it 2-1. But remember, that one win was very important because that meant that Australia's streak of ODI wins has ended at 26. Before we go down to the review of the series, here's the thing that you need to download and read. The 5th issue of the Women's Cricket Zone magazine is out. The link is on our website, so do check that out. Lovely stories, but none more so perhaps than the cover story, the one on Shafali Verma. So do check that out. Right, let's move on. 2-1 is the scoreline. The multi-format series scoreline reads 4-2 in Australia's favour. Let's start by talking about India's number 3, India's batting in general. Anand, let's start with you. Jemimah Rodrigues didn't play any game. Poonam RAUT didn't play. Yastika Bhatia played all 3. Is that an indication of how India are thinking going towards that World Cup next year?
I certainly think so. It does feel like with the left-hander coming in, and she has taken her chances, Yastika Bhatia. So it does feel like Poonam RAUT and Jemimah Rodrigues both at this point are probably behind in the pecking order. But I don't think anyone expected Yastika Bhatia to make her debut, especially after the form that Jemimah Rodrigues showed in the 100 competition. Everyone kind of expected her to slide into the India 11, but Yastika Bhatia came in, maybe left-hander, India kind of sided with her. She did show great intent through that camp in Bangalore, took her chances. So now it feels like maybe Rodrigues and RAUT are both behind her in the pecking order.
Were you surprised by Jemimah not playing any of those 3 games? Because I suppose you're also one of those who were in favour of giving her a chance, given what she had done in the 100.
Yeah, I certainly felt so. I thought that, of course, I didn't feel it in the second and the third game because Yastika did well in the warm-ups and the first game. But I certainly would have wanted to start with her in the first game in itself with the kind of form she had shown in the 100.
Right. One of the other interesting talking points, if you may so say, when the squad itself was announced was what it meant to Tahlia Bhatia, because Richa Ghosh, remember, got a maiden call-up to that ODI and Test squad. Can we say that Richa Ghosh has nailed that spot?
Yeah, with whatever chances she's got in those 3 opportunities, the first 2 she did pretty well, and the third one, of course, not to the best of her abilities, but it was a different game, circumstances were different. Felt that she should have come in the 35th to 40th over. She was promoted up the order with of course Yastika and Shafali giving them a great start. So they thought that, oh, okay, Richa is in form, so let's promote her and maybe she can just close out on the innings. That didn't happen, but I think so Richa Ghosh has more or less cemented her spot as a wicket keeper in that first 11.
Indeed, 2-1, and Richa Ghosh shown wonderfully. 70 odd runs, 76 runs at an average of 38. Dismissed twice, but 1 duck, that is not a blemish, because what she'd done before that had really good effects, greater effects. But for a change, we would probably not be kind of pondering about India's seam attack, because Jhulan Goswami, Meghna Singh, Pooja Avastrakar, all 3 did really well. Spin, is that India's weakest link? That's the question lingering at the moment. We'll get those thoughts in. Ananya, you first. Spin, is that really a worry?
Well, the way I think the spinners bowled in this series, they weren't quite effective. But again, look at the conditions. There was pace, there was bounce. They under lights, I think there was a lot of swing. So it did suit the seamers, and I think the seamers bowled exceptionally well in favourable conditions. So I'm hoping that India's seam problem that has been kind of behind them for the last, I don't know how many years, is hopefully solved. They do have Shikha Pandey, who didn't feature, so they have another backup seamer there. But in terms of whether spin is now the issue, look, India's spinners, I think, have been successful in favourable conditions in the subcontinent mostly, especially in India and Sri Lanka. They've picked up a bulk of the wickets. On slow tracks in England, they did. In the World Cup, on slow tracks in Australia, they did. But when there is pace and bounce, or when the tracks are flat, especially like we saw in the March series against South Africa, they struggled. And I wonder if that's an issue just because there isn't much variation in the speed. They don't have too much variation in terms of, they don't have any mystery balls. So maybe that's an issue. But look, it's just one series, so I think it's too much to read into. I know they didn't do too well in England, but these are high quality spinners who have proven themselves. So hopefully they learn from the series and take it into the next or leading into the World Cup.
Right, that was about India. Their batting came good, not as well as probably many would have liked, but it's not a problem child as it was perceived to be. But let's move on to Australia. Yes, let's start with you, Ellyse Perry. I mean, this was a very unusual series if you think about Ellyse Perry and the way she's bowled so far.
She hasn't bowled a lot since 2019, so I think so. She's just coming back. They haven't played for the last 6 months, so again, it's sort of coming back for Ellyse Perry. She was injured, didn't bowl for nearly a year, 1.5 years. Has come back recently, so I don't want to read a lot into her bowling. But at the same time, she hasn't batted well. Which is kind of her primary suit when it comes to the ODIs. So I'm more concerned about her batting than her bowling.
Yeah, indeed. And we are talking about Australia's bowling as one of its problem childs because remember, three games and there were extras galore. And that meant that Tahlia McGrath seemed to be a very good bowler in what we've seen so far because Ellyse Perry, as we discussed, didn't work for them. But Tahlia McGrath did well with bat and ball.
Yeah, I think for me, Tahlia McGrath was kind of the player of the series, the player that not many people paid too much attention to, but she's come into this series, with a lot of domestic experience, something like that we've spoken a lot about Sneha Rana, how she's come in and made the transition quickly. Tahlia McGrath made her debut, I think, in 2017, has been around this group, lost her contract, had a lot of injuries and all that. But I think the way she performed in this series was exceptional. The fact that she came in under pressure, both with the bat and with the ball, and performed each time was something that was very, very impressive. And, just without someone like Megan Schutt, I think she showed what a high quality swing bowler she is. So, number one, I think, player for me for Australia, despite not finishing as the top wicket taker or the top run getter. I think she was kind of that standout player who probably, if I can say this, that is she the next Ellyse Perry? I think Australia have a lot of exciting players there.
Yeah, those are some big words, really. Is Tahlia McGrath the next Ellyse Perry? Perhaps time will tell. But what we saw in this series yet again was there was no Megan Schutt, no Jess Jonathan, two of the biggest when it comes to bowling lineup in Australia. And we saw Darcie Brown for the second time. First she played against New Zealand, but the first look of Stella Campbell. Darcie Brown, how was she in this series?
She was brilliant. The 2 games she played out of the 3, she's bowled really well. If we just take into consideration those 2 games, she's picked up 6 wickets, has been phenomenal. In the first game, she took, I think so, the first 4 wickets, and everybody was saying that, oh, okay, now she's going to take a 5-er and everything. That didn't happen, but that more or less helped Australia come back in the game, kind of, because otherwise India was all set to win that second game. Darcie Brown was very important. We all know that. We've spoken about Beth Mooney, we've spoken about Tahlia McGrath, we've spoken about Nicola Carey, but we didn't speak about Darcie Brown's contribution. So I think so that contribution was important, and she's been very good. I definitely see her in the 15. She may not come back in the 11 when Megan Schutt, Jess Jonathan returns.
And Stella Campbell, I mean, we saw just one appearance so far of us in international cricket. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I was very, very impressed with Stella Campbell. Again, she was someone who we saw in the WBBL over the last couple of years. She's had the pace, but she's just been very, very erratic. Lots of wides and no balls. But on international debut, I think she came in and just bowled with so much consistency. A high pace, yes, but she was just so consistent, so much control. And she got the ball to really rear off a length. I mean, someone who's that tall and bowling off an awkward height. I think she really troubled the Indian batters, and I think especially the way she bowled to Mithali Raj was something that I was very, very impressed by. So I think Australia just keep churning out these quicks, and there's another one for everyone to see, I guess.
There's a different gleam when Ananya talks about fast bowling, isn't it? But that she was so good was Stella Campbell. Well, 3 ODIs dusted. It was just one part of this India's tour of Australia. There is a one-off pink ball test match that we are going to build up to on match day as well. So do tune into that. And that is it right now from this edition of The Outside View. Welcome to The Outside View Live, the ODI part of the Australia. Dan ki cover story, the one on Shefali Verma. So do check that out. Also, do check that out.
Form that she showed in the 100, but
मेरे को नहीं समझा क्या हुआ तो दोनों हंसे ओह मेरी बेटी बहुत अच्छी बात है हंसने वाले
कौन है ये लोग कहां से आते हैं